Our next performer, I am such a huge fan of. He wrote the film American Ultra. He wrote Chronicle. He wrote the new Victor Frankenstein that's coming. Oh, he didn't write that one. And he also wrote the new DC Comics Superman American Alien, which I am so excited about because I love Superman, and the current movie Superman is kind of a sad asshole, so I will take any Superman story that I can get that's great. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Max Landis.
How the am I supposed to follow that? We were back there, it was like, how long's she been up there? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 26 minutes? We were like, oh, they were like, we should cut her. And then they were like, what about the botfly? She has that thing, we can't cut her until we hear what happens to that thing. So everybody in the back was like this. It was like the people in 1939 listening to War of the Worlds. It was a nightmare. You're from Twitter. You guys? Yeah, hey guys. Hey Sheila, hey Brad. I don't know if any of my other friends are here. If you know me, you know I actually don't like being on stage. It's an illusion of confidence that comes from most of you being shrouded in darkness. I am a bad performer. My heart is beating. Here, put your hand on my chest. I get incredibly nervous. I ramble. My legs shake. My legs also occasionally shake. The first time I kiss a really pretty girl, which is always weird because she goes, we start making out. And it's funny because every time I have to pretend to be like, oh, I'm so ashamed. When in reality, it's always like, oh, he's so nervous. It's like a secret weapon, which is actually, it's funny. Gosh, my story is not nearly as salacious or terrifying, including the death of relatives. When my mother died, I was relieved. How do I follow that? What? Like, Jesus, a hallucinated hippie, a con man. I just want to talk to you guys randomly about the nature of intimacy. And try to do it in under 15 minutes. So let's see if I can do that. My friends know I have trouble even describing what I did for the last 15 minutes in under 15 minutes. So this is going to be an interesting ride for me, and I'm glad you're all here for it. So let's talk about human intimacy and the nature of sex and relationships. And I think the best way to start that conversation is by telling you the Minions were not originally in Despicable Me. Despicable Me was a live-action film, a live-action script that got bought to be an animated movie. And then DreamWorks had already been developing the Minions. And they were like, couldn't the Minions be in this movie? And if you're a screenwriter, you know that the answer to couldn't A, B, X is always yes. Not this movie could be called the Minions movie. I don't, please give me money. It's a terrifying job. So the Minions ended up having a number of scenes in Despicable Me that mean nothing to the plot and don't represent anything. They're a little bit more involved in the sequel, but really the Minion scenes can all be cut out. They're just slapstick. I didn't have any friends when I was young. And I wish I could say it was because I was like a nerd or like oh, poor Max, but I wasn't. I was this height. I was viciously mean. I loved comics, and I hated anyone who didn't love comics. And if you made fun of me, I'd come attack you. I came of age in the era of Columbine, and I looked like sort of dorky. I'd wear like these big cargo shorts and these big baggy t-shirts, and I kind of had this dumb haircut. But you talked to me, and it was like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I was just like, nobody understands me. Everyone's an asshole. I was frantically lonely. I didn't know what was happening, and I met this girl named who was, full name, bleep that if this goes on YouTube. I met this girl named Hula Hoo Dudawaba, and she was 17. She was older than me. She was a candy kid and a raver. So she used to be a ballerina, and she'd always wear like these like very tight-fitted tank tops and big baggy raver pants. It was so the year 2000, you wouldn't believe it. And she had a belly button piercing. I was like, whoa! And she found me fascinating for reasons I don't understand. Please censor that name if you post it. And I wasn't really. Oh, she travels the world. She's become like a god now. But I wasn't really sure what to make of her, because we'd have these like long conversations. She'd say stuff like, "You're really manipulative," and I'd be like, "I'm not noticing me being manipulative. In fact, maybe by calling me manipulative, you're manipulating me into just doing what you say." So I didn't know what was going on with her. And then one day she came over to my house, and I'd never kissed a girl. I'd never done anything with a girl. And we had what is probably still some of like top 60 best sex of my life. and it was insane. We had it. It was like 8 minutes, which if you've ever had sex is reasonable. There's all the stuff. I learned a lot about sex in those next couple of years because I immediately associated sex, more than sex, the girl having a good time in sex, as something that would make me valuable. And so Alex, for women is, for some women, extremely intimate, for others less so, for some not even an option sometimes. And me seems totally vulnerable and so into me, I was like, I don't know what the big deal is about sex. This is easy. But had tons of sex and knew her body. So it turned into this thing where I ended up hooking up with my other friend, who was a virgin. And I was like, okay, do all your stuff. It wasn't good. It was bad. And then I went back to and I was like, how come, what happened? And she was like, it's chemistry, and also like you need to learn your body and all that stuff. And I was like, okay. So as years passed, I began to become hyper vigilant during sexual encounters. Now there's times you're not gonna have good sex at all, no matter what you do. But there are ways to notice if you're gonna have good sex or not beforehand, where you can opt out. Like, for instance, if someone isn't going all in on kissing you. Has anyone here had that experience? You're making out with someone, but they're not being passionate enough, but they're still down to fuck you, but then the sex is terrible. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Yeah, we've been there. Has anyone ever had a girl tell you to less than 3 minutes in? Oh, I want your No, you don't. You just want this to be over. You don't fool me. The most embarrassing thing, if you're a guy who cares, is a fake orgasm when you catch them, because you don't know what to do. You're like, okay, I guess. Well, you're lying to me during sex. I'm not sure. And girls will never admit to it. It gets so uncomfortable if you go, no, that was totally real. Why are you putting your shirt on right now? Because I just came so hard. I need to go to work. So what this led to was me pursuing relationships based around intimacy. I ended up sleeping with a lot of my female friends, and I'd end up in these monogamous relationships that were very intense and emotional, but were founded on my need to be loved and appreciated, and therefore had all of these cracks in them, giant cracks, with my insecurity and need for validation. So I'd constantly flirt with other girls, and I was very unfaithful to a huge amount of women, and I would alternate between being, one of my exes said I was the best boyfriend she'd ever have and the worst boyfriend she'd ever have. Because when I was good, I'm like ultimate please like me guy. So I remember everything. I know who all your friends are. I know your entire job. I know your life history. I give good advice. I do all the perfunctory stuff. But then if I'm bummed out, nothing you say can cheer me up. And on top of that, I'm going to be a little mean to you for trying to cheer me up. Because you like me. And I know people don't like me. I remember being 14. You only like me because I went down on you on the first date. I tricked you, and these are people who loved me and who I loved. And it brought me to this terrible point of confusion, which culminated with a girl who I really loved, breaking up with me not too long ago. And her breaking up with me, I went like, okay, I have to stop the serial monogamous, cheater, weird, narcissist behavior. I'm gonna stop it dead. I'm not gonna date anyone for at least a year. And I'm gonna figure out why I'm like this. Because when I think of myself as sort of a selfish, obnoxious, sort of insecure person. And who here has heard someone describe themselves as an asshole, but I'm like a likable asshole. No, you're not. You're just an asshole. You're just an asshole. But like I sort of thought of myself in my head as an asshole. And my friends didn't think of me that way. And so privately I'd be like, all my friends are a little stupid. All my friends are maybe a little stupid. The Minions currently make more money than any other marketed character. That includes all the Marvel superheroes, all the DC superheroes, Nintendo characters, just Minions. Minions. And the Minions are an incarnation of something that started a while ago. Do you remember the little baby Shreks? All the identical baby Shreks? And then even in Inside Out, there are the identical little thought form guys. And the penguins are identical. And there was something in Ice Age that were like little identical things that ran around. They're just a marketing ploy. They're a simple thing to do old Looney Tunes gags. Who here has done the drug Molly? You sound like you're on it right now. Yes. I was on it last night. I was just dancing alone for a long time. So if you haven't done this drug, it's fantastic. But it does something really cool. The main thing it does is creates, I talk about chasing that special feeling of intimacy. It just spontaneously generates that. It's like a cheat code. You can have a special, romantic, and intimate connection with like an interesting looking leaf when you're on Molly. Yes. What? And you're not, it's not like mushrooms, because on mushrooms you're like, doesn't this kind of look like an elephant, right? Because it has a trunk? And someone will be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But on Molly you'll just be like this. And that's beautiful. You're just loving that this exists. You're excited about it. So Insecure screenwriter guy has a friend online who used to think he was a sexist, except for randomly we've started talking online, and now she has decided he is not a sexist, which was a big relief for me because I thought she was very cool. And I wasn't interested in her romantically, but she was currently going through the end of a big breakup with an insecure screenwriter who had dumped her for exactly the kind of bullshit that I got dumped for. His bullshit, he was so like up his own ass and I need more attention that he broke up with her, which I would have never done with my girlfriend because I loved her. And I don't generally break up with people unless they really push a button. Is she here tonight? I always got to keep one eye open in Los Angeles. So me and this girl are talking online. We've both been through kind of these shitty breakups. And I'm like, hey, I have free passes for Halloween Horror Nights and a bunch of drugs. You want to go do Molly at Halloween Horror Nights? She's like, I'm in a position where I'm making a lot of bad decisions. This sounds great. And I love drugs, if you can't tell. I think drugs are super important and everyone should do them at least 30 times. It's true. And so I was like psyched up. I've never had a bad experience on drugs. Every time I've done them, it's been great, except for the times they didn't really fully hit. So I was like, right in. So we go to Halloween Horror Nights. We have front of the line passes. We take Molly on the way there. We start getting all giggly. We're calling it Yoon Stud Ween Horror. Oh yeah, here at Yoon Stud Ween Horror, we have the Wolfman. And we were like doing weird voices, weird Molly shit, but it doesn't then set in. Nothing happened. I'm telling a story to someone's parents in the front row. This guy's asleep. You're gonna make it, man. I have faith in you. No, so you're gonna love this. It turns out this thing is called a bot fly. Sorry. Okay, so I'm at Universal Studios. Oh, good, I'm not doing that bad on time. I'm at Universal Studios, and the Molly isn't hitting me. And the guy who sold it to me was like, yeah, it's from Europe. And when I got it, I was like, cool. And then now I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Me and this girl, there is no more annoyed person than the person who is waiting for drugs to hit them. If you've ever been that person, it's the funniest. You're walking around like this. So frantically. Did that feel weird? Do I feel weird? Is it happening? Except for 2.5 hours pass. Zippo, nothing. And she and I are having like pretty reasonable conversations about relationships. We're involved with each other. It's nice. I'm like, damn, you are making crazy decisions. So I'm like, do you feel anything? No. You feel anything? We go on the tram. We go to The Walking Dead. And we're like so annoyed that monsters are popping out at us. And we're like, do you have more Molly? Like, and I realize I still have 2 more doses. So we do 2 more doses. Turn back on the Meghan Trainor. No, don't. But we get off the Crimson Peak maze, or before we go to the Crimson Peak maze, and she goes like this. She turns to me. She looks, her eyes are so dilated, she looks like a shark. They're pointing in 2 different directions. She's holding my arm, and this is a very pretty girl. She's holding my arm, and she looks like this. I was like, well, I'm still not feeling anything. She's like rubbing, it's this Molly thing where friction feels really crazy good. And so she's like rubbing my arm, and I go, you sit down. You need a lot of water when you're on any MDMA enhancer because they dry you out. I'm like, I'll go get us water. She's sitting there, like all these Mexican teenagers who go to horror nights are like running by her going, that girl's on drugs! and she's just sitting there like this. And so I go into the store to get water, and it's a Despicable Me Minion store. And it's themed to the Minions. There's Minion merchandise everywhere. And I go in and I get a bottle of water, and I start thinking, like, this girl's already dating someone. Like, I sort of thought she was in the same place I was, where try to stay single, but I don't think she is. I think her boyfriend is just dumb and maybe a less evolved guy. But what is it? I mean, like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't want to hook up with this girl, but I'm like, let's go do I start having those thoughts you have after you do drugs where you're like, why did I do drugs? Oh no. And I'm standing in line and I'm holding this water bottle and I'm like, I just wanted to have an intimate experience with someone. So I chose this person who I knew was vulnerable at random to do something you would normally do with a girlfriend. And I went, oh. And I'm looking. Here we go, guys. Sorry. I'm looking up at a shelf at a shelf with a TV on it. It's a big flat screen TV, and it's showing a feed of the inside of the store. And so I know this because I see myself on the screen. I see an image of me doing this, and I go, well, something's wrong. It's like a convenience store, you know, where there's a camera showing the inside of the store, and I go, there's something wrong with that image. And I'm staring at it, and I go, oh, it's because it's a Minion. Oh, the camera has a thing. This is so cool. The camera has a thing where it replaces the people in the store who move with Minions. And I was like, what a cool technology. It's like one of those things, you know, on a webcam that turns you into a monster or something. And I was like, cool. And then I'm looking at it, and I go, no, that's not right. Oh, it's a scene. They're showing Despicable Me 2 on the screen. It's funny. That's funny that I thought that was me. And then I go, why isn't it moving? Oh, because it isn't a TV. It's a shelf with a cardboard cutout of a Minion on it. I'm standing in line. I go like this. behind me goes, "Are you okay?" I say, "I falsify intimacy." He goes, "What?" I go, "I don't know what's happening." And I look at this guy. He was like, I don't even remember what he looked like because everything was now doing the Molly thing.
Oh my God.
Like that. He looks great though, and I think I love him. But I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And he went, "Okay, you okay?" And I went, "No, I have to go." And I walked out and stole the water bottle and sat down next to this girl. I almost said her name. And I sit down next to her and she goes, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Crying. And so for the rest of the night, we were just rolling, running around. "Hey, Crimson Peak. Boo! Ah, you want to make out?" You know, it's just wonderful evening. And then I got home and I was alone. The girl left. And if you've ever been in a relationship a long time, you know that very unique thing where suddenly when you're alone, it's like you're the loneliest person in the world. And my apartment felt like the Great Gatsby. I was like, I'm walking up the stairs, all these comic book posters, but no love. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like, wait a minute, it's bullshit. Because I was thinking, I deserve this because I'm such a selfish guy and all this stuff. And then I was like, when did that become my idea of me? And I was like, I'm still on Molly. That's a weird thing to think. I was like, no, seriously, when did that become my idea of me? When was I like, of course I cheated on someone. I'm a jerk. I mean, has anyone here ever done something bad or wrong and excused themselves for it because they were being stupid or a jerk? I mean, I think everyone's done it at least once internally. You go like, I'm a jerk, so I did a jerk thing. And then you apologize, but then later you do it again. And I'm not just talking about infidelity. I'm talking about any form of cruelty, selfishness at all. I started thinking like, people excuse bad behavior by making flaws part of their personality because there's this whole human gimmick of flaws making you beautiful. They don't. Eccentricities make you beautiful. If I make you a steak and then pee on it, it doesn't matter that I spent the time making the steak. But if I make you the steak and there's chocolate sauce, some people might love that. You know, you find someone who loves that, and that's the person you want to be with. And I started thinking like, that's the Minions. That's the fucking Minions. When you're born, you're Despicable Me. And then as time goes on, you get all these minions, all these behaviors that you learn that sort of get shoved in there and sort of, you know, they make Despicable Me more interesting, but are they ultimately worth it? Because all they are is a marketing ploy. Everything we do are these marketing ploys to hide our insecurities and to protect ourselves, and they're often destructive, and we lie, and we push people away, and we have all these terrible thoughts inside, and we get torn up, and we think, oh, I'm crazy. Of course I did something crazy, but it's bullshit. You're not crazy if you can think that you're crazy. So stop. And it started a new chapter in my life because I don't believe in excuses anymore. I think people spend, and I know I spent a lot of time excusing my behavior with ideas about myself. And that's bullshit because every day you wake up and you're a new you. So why are there minions everywhere? You look in the mirror, you shouldn't see someone you don't like. That's my story. Sorry, no botfly.
Keep it going for Max Landis.